Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 19 of the Vuelta a España. 177 kilometers, about 110 miles in length, and it's pancake flat. Today is a stage for the sprinters. They have today and stage 21 when they get into Madrid as their last chance saloon here to win if you're a field sprinter. We've seen Caden Grove win 2 stages, and we've seen ALPECIN give up 2 stages from some mistakes that they've made coming into the final. I always tell you guys, you can't make mistakes at the finish of the race, but you can make them at the beginning, through the middle, and the closer you get to the finish of the race is when the mistakes have to disappear and you have to be perfect, especially if you're a sprinter. When we get into the stage, there's 4 riders up the road, and they're going to put a little bit of pressure on ALPECIN who are chasing behind. 2 ALPECIN chasing is Jimmy Johnson and Jason Osborne. And then we see Novak from UAE Team Emirates there, followed by the 4th rider, which is Thomas De Hint from Lotto Destiny. Now, I don't know what Thomas De Hint was doing, but he's getting a Cadillac ride at the front here and never touching the front throughout 177 kilometers of today's race. But he's sitting 4th wheel, and I'm sitting there the whole time. What is he doing up here? Well, as the time gap was up to about 2 minutes maximum to the group of 4, we're going to see as we start getting into 30 kilometers to go, the peloton behind is starting going full gas. Up front, Jimmy Johnson's got the ugly face as he's trying to go full gas. The commentators at GCN, they say, why are you guys going full gas up there for an intermediate sprint points competition with 19 kilometers to go coming up? Well, I'll tell you what. They want maximum points because Caden Groves only has a 36-point advantage over Remco Evenepoel, who's going to go full gas into tomorrow's stage 20, the mountainous stage with 10 category 3 climbs on tomorrow's stage, so he could take up maximum points at the intermediate sprint competition tomorrow and possibly win the stage. So Caden Groves knows that anything can happen in a sprint stage at the finish, so you better take these easy points right now at 19 kilometers to go. So if you're listening to any commentators out there wondering and telling you folks sitting at home, what are they doing? They have to get these points. It is vital to get these points because you don't know what could happen in a sprint stage. Now they're coming into about 22 kilometers to go. UAE Team Emirates is off the front. Jimmy Johnson's going full gas until he blows and goes hard off to the back of the peloton. Jason Osborne still at the front, and then we're about 21 kilometers to go, and this is when Thomas De Hint gets on the front, and I'm like, oh, that's what he's doing. That's what Thomas De Hint is doing. He's up there for the emergency call. When the red phone rings, Thomas De Hint will go to work. Well, that's what I thought. He hits the front for the first and only time that I ever watched him hit the front on today's stage 19 unless I blinked. He's on the front, but he looks right, he looks left, realizes he doesn't want to be on the front. He gets out of the way. That means it's time still for ALPECIN to go full gas. That group of 4 that was almost caught, they're still holding about a 10-second gap, and we see it's Clement David, FDJ, that's attacking. He gets a little bit of a gap as he wants these intermediate sprint points competition exposure right here for FDJ, so he's trying to hold off the train. We see that it's Planker doing the full lead out now as we're coming into the last 200 meters before the intermediate sprint points competition arrives. But up front, we see Clement David. He's wrapping it up and getting first place points. But behind, we see Caden Groves hits with about 150 meters to go, hits the turbo button, accelerates, and gets second at the intermediate sprint points competition, followed by Planker 3rd. This is fantastic because this gives him some more vital points over Remco Evenepoel because, like I said, you never know what can happen at the end of the stage. Battistella from Astana goes up the road. Stella! He's going solo, but ALPECIN still chasing behind. Now, with ALPECIN wrapping him up with about 10 kilometers to go, we see the field's getting nervous. Jumbo-Visma's at the front. Team Ineos is at the front. We got everybody battling curb to curb, at least up till about 8.5 kilometers to go when Ineos start taking over. They're driving hard with Castroviejo at the front, followed by Geraint Thomas, followed by Omar Fraile and Filippo Ganna, the 2-time individual world champion. He's sitting 4th wheel, followed by Kim Hajduk sitting 5th. Now we look over to the right at 6.5 kilometers to go. Movistar's come straight up to the side, right side of Ineos that is, as it's a drag race from 6.5 kilometers all the way into 2.3 when Geraint Thomas finally destroys the Movistar train there on the right and they fall off just behind. Now we come into the last and final right turn. Geraint Thomas will lead in. Omar Fraile 2nd. Then we're going to look back. We see Filippo Ganna 3rd. Kim Hajduk sitting 4th, but he's going to rotate with Filippo Ganna because he's going to be the last lead-out man for the 2-time individual ex-world time trial champion Filippo Ganna, who's already won a stage here at the Vuelta a España. Now, things are getting tricky. Geraint Thomas is getting ready to pull off the front as the fencing starts coming into play. We see there's Tobias Bayer coming up the fencing, but he's got no teammates. Look at Maurice back there, baller stat. He can't follow the wheel, and we see him. He has got to open up the gap to Bayer, who comes up in the second position. Bayer's looking backwards many times, wondering what happened to his teammates. Tobias, you dropped all your teammates. You didn't leave enough of a gap for them to follow you. And now we're coming up to just under 1.5 kilometers to go. And Bayer's still looking forwards and backwards. Team EF Education's coming up the left side with DSM, who is just in front of him. But now it's Andreas Piccolo that's going full gas over the top of DSM. He's coming up to the second position there of Tobias Bayer, who's following the wheel in front there of Omar Fraley. Tobias Bayer looks right, moves over, hits the hip of the EF Education rider's Piccolo wheel, and he'll cause a chain reaction that'll send Caden Groves, his sprinter, into the pile crashing. But look at Caden Groves. Man, somehow he's pulling it out. Look at his leg flying off the bike. His bike will crash, but Caden Groves will go for a run here on stage 19 of the Vuelta España and not get any points at the end of today's stage for the green jersey. So that intermediate sprint competition at 19 kilometers to go became vital. What's impressive though, the bike crashes, Caden Grove keeps it up, and while he's running out his speed here, he's getting on the race radio telling his ALPECIN Dakuna guys, I'm out, you guys are on your own, do whatever you can. Well, let's go back and look at the pile just as it started forming back there and the crash was happening, because that's Vandenberg from EF Education that's getting held up, and he'll come into play later here on stage 19 because he didn't quite get caught in the crash and go down. Now up front, as the cameras come back to the front, it's about 900 meters to go. EF Education's on the front with Andreas Piccolo, who now is pulling off to the left. As he's pulling off to the left, he's looking down the right, and he sees his sprinter there, Vandenberg. Vandenberg's coming up the left side. Alberto Danesi's back there with Vandenberg trying to make up some positions here with just under 900 meters to go. 700 meters to go, and it's Filippo Ganna telling his man Kim Hajduk, go man, hit it, hit the turbos. I need to lead out all the way into the finish. It's 700 meters to go. Kim hits out hard. Filippo Ganna's falling. Cortina's on his wheel. All of a sudden, we see Vandenberg from EF Education on the left side. He starts bumping there with Cortina as they're bumping. Look at Danesi, Alberto Danesi, DSM's. He's switching over to the back wheel there of Cortina as we're getting ready to come into about 300 meters to go now. Those guys are bumping, holding each other up, causing some energy back there. And we look at Alberto Danesi. He's switching from Cortina's wheel over to Vandenberg's wheel and then coming back to the center. Now it's 250 meters to go. Filippo Ganna decides it's time to go. He hits out hard, goes over to the right, and as we see, Alberto Danesi is coming around the left side. He's going to swing back behind the wheel there of Kim Hajduk, who was doing the lead out for Ganna. That'll help him get a little bit of draft. As we look over more to the right, Filippo Ganna's going full gas with Cortina on his wheel. Now we're coming into about 100 meters to go. Alberto Danesi is slotting, getting a little bit of a run up there on Cortina, as Cortina at 75 is starting his jump to the left of Filippo Ganna. Just after that, we see Alberto Danesi starting his jump to the left, and it looks like a three-way drag here with about 60 meters to go. Now we hit 50 meters to go. Cortina's power's dropping as he's coming off and losing down the center of the road, as we got Alberto Danesi going left, Filippo Ganna's going right. Now we're at 25 meters to go. It's a drag race, 10 meters to go. We start seeing Alberto Danesi look like he's nudging Filippo Ganna, the two-time individual world time trial champion, ex-time trial champion now because it belongs to Remco Evenepoel. As they're coming to the line, Alberto Danesi sits up, pounds the chest, then does the wide salute with number ones on each one of the finger. When we start looking at who got second, Filippo Ganna, of course, because he gave a marvelous drag race all the way into the finish. Third was Vandenberg from EF Education to round out the podium here on stage 19. Now, if you got time, go back and watch the last 20 kilometers because that was exciting. Everything before that wasn't interesting at all, with the exception of the interviews that were being given from Jumbo-Visma as they're talking about teamwork all the time. Richard Pluge, their GM manager here for Jumbo-Visma, talked about how great champions needed the race for the win, but later he's happy they can all come back together, and he's really proud of that. Well, I don't know, man. You can't have "we win together" as a slogan on the side of your bus, but you race each other left and right until finally it blows up so bad in the press that Sepp Kuss is getting screwed all the way up until yesterday, stage 18, and now all of a sudden the MO's being changed. Now all of a sudden they all race together. But tomorrow, stage 20, is coming up. And tomorrow's stage 20, 210 kilometers long. Sepp Kuss is in the race leader's jersey still after today's stage 19. So tomorrow when they're racing, Jumbo-Visma, Sepp Kuss, if you've ever listened to anything I have to say up here on the Butterfly Effect, do not race for tomorrow's stage win. Let the breakaway go. Follow the brakes, follow the attacks, the big attacks all the time. Then once the break goes up the road, do not try to win tomorrow's stage. When you're talking about the big mountains coming down, as the road gets flatter, when they come down, what we normally see as 10 big-time favorites on big mountain stages, now you got 50, 100 guys that can win tomorrow's stage 20 of the Vuelta a España. So it takes a ton of energy from a team of 8 to be able to control a peloton of this quality at the Vuelta a España to bring it down and try to win tomorrow's stage. You only have 5 domestiques. Do not think that Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic are willing to lose second and third on the general classification to ride for your first. They'll cover moves instead, and it'll look like what we saw on stages 14, 15, 16, and 17 here at the Vuelta a España, where they're attacking you left and right, because it's too hard to control the race with only 5 domestiques who have ridden for 3 weeks at the Vuelta a España so far. If they fold and you lose all 5 of those guys, and you got 50 kilometers to go, for sure, Sepp, you'll be in trouble because Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic will follow attacks, and that could leave them up the road and you lose the race leader's red jersey. So the #1 strategy for Sepp Kuss in the meeting tonight and in the bus tomorrow before the race, because they have meetings all the time, right? That's what you do when your team's in stress and there's drama happenings. You have meetings at night, in the middle of the night, first thing in the morning, and all over the place. So you know when you're hearing stories from Attila Valters that there are problems within the teams. Otherwise, there are no meetings. So tomorrow, keep it calm, let the break go, have your 5 guys, and you got to think, Sepp Kuss, that these 5 guys got to get you all the way to the finish of tomorrow's stage, because if you lose those 5, the other 2, Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard, might not be willing to ride 50K for you on the front of tomorrow's race in order to protect your race leader's red jersey. So think about your team and think you have 6, 5 working for Sepp Kuss and yourself, because the other 2, they say you can trust them, but I don't know if you can. And you got 1 more day to get through, and then you got the race leader's red jersey to bring home for the U.S. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for tomorrow's explosive Stage 20, the last big stage battle for the GC classification, and for Sepp Kuss to bring the race leader's red jersey home to the Butterfly Effect. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys real soon.